and welcome. This is the Market Wrap. I am Agam Vakil. We've seen a lot more volatility return to the benchmark indices. However, they have closed with the day with gains in the day, and we've seen strength in ICICI Bank, Infosys, Bajaj Finance, and HDFC Bank. Some of these financial names leading the gains, but on the losing end, we have more weakness in Bharti Infratel, IndusInd Bank, and Zee Entertainment, along with Vedanta also declining in trend. But the advance decline ratio isn't any different from what we saw yesterday. More pressure on those stocks which are declining. We do have the likes of Muthoot Finance, Dixon Technologies, Rain Industries, Century Plyboards, all advancing in trade. Something like a Lux Industries now showing up in gainers lists. On the losing end, Vodafone Idea, it's now trending below 3 rupees per share. Do remember, the Vodafone head did come and make some noise with respect to taxation under the current regime. Aurobindo Pharma under pressure. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Ircon International, Sri Renuka Sugars, Raymond, Garwari Technical, all looking at some amount of pressure. Raymond, of course, also in this case down by as much as 6%, coming off quite substantially from the recently made highs on account of the restructuring of the group. That said, on that note, let me get in our markets editor Neeraj Shah for his thoughts. Neeraj, how are you seeing this? Is largely consolidation after yesterday's loss, but what I'm also seeing is in the broader markets, the advance decline ratio continues to remain negative.
Yeah, it didn't show too much of sign of improvement, just that led by HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank, the Bank Nifty did well, but maybe it propels the sentiment a little bit. You never know. The world wasn't too unhappy a place today as well, despite Powell's comment, despite all the other things that have happened, and despite the CPI inflation moving up. Right. The counterpoint, Agam, today's rate was that everybody was of the belief that with the CPI inflation moving up, the trader fraternity would want to think that there could be pressure on the banks, but the banks were the main propellers in today's session, which is actually a good sign. So, well, maybe F&O expiry day, and therefore all of those comments there, or all of those things leading to the stocks doing what they are doing. But there was some serious action there. I think, unless I'm very wrong, we had a record high F&O volumes in the session today, northwards of 31 lakh crores, which I think is record high volumes, unless I'm very wrong. So some serious trading activity there. Let's see if it lasts. Yeah,
I'll be waiting for the numbers post-market, especially from the FIs, especially on the futures and options space. And
but does it? I mean, I know expiry day volumes are usually high, but 31 lakh crores is quite exceptionally high. Right?
Yes, which is why I'll be very crucial. I'll be watching out for where there is a build-up in open interest, because if there is such a high, turnover, naturally FIs are taking some in activity. So we're definitely watching for that one. But yes, Neeraj, thanks for that perspective there. So, that's as far as your overall markets are concerned, but we had a Nifty company announce its earnings today, Vedanta. Let's get in Nikki Mirchandani to talk to us about how the earnings have panned out. Nikki, how is it looking?
The stock was down 2.5%. Initial reaction, it was pretty in line with what the street was estimating, at least the operational performance. But then later on, it's essentially the volume guidance which was revised downwards for FY20, essentially for the three key divisions, that is oil and gas, and then you had Hindustan Zinc and International. Cost of production was also revised higher for these divisions as a whole, which form majorly a EBITDA performance of Vedanta. So going forward, we're expecting some amount of cost cut also auguring down for the company as a whole. On account of that, you saw some amount of downtick coming in for Vedanta. In terms of performance, profitability, there was a one-time deferred tax gain, which bumped up the profitability growth of around 60% in this quarter. Aluminum division was a disappointment, whereas it was the oil and gas division, which was pretty in line with what the street was estimating.
All right, Nikki, thanks for getting us those updates on Vedanta. That said, the other stock which was under pressure was Aurobindo Pharma, which declined by as much as 9% in today's day of trade. And the reason here is that it has received a Form 483 for its Hyderabad facility. More importantly, it's got 14 observations, and about a good 30% of its overall applications, drug applications, come from this particular facility, which becomes a big challenge for the company at this point in time, perhaps the prospects in terms of revenue growth and earnings based on that, and that's the reason why we've seen such a sharp decline in its stock prices. So we'll continue to keep an eye on updates and remediations that the company will be taking up after receiving the Form 483. And on that note, let's also get in Soumit Sarkar, who's going to tell us a little more about what the update is with respect to Vodafone Idea, which is down 20%. Soumit.
It was not only Vodafone Idea, but the entire telecom pack, that is Vodafone Idea, Bharti Airtel and Bharti Infratel, that were down in trade today. Now, this is after yesterday the Department of Telecommunication had sent letters out to the telecom companies to pay their AGR dues within the next 3 months. And in that, and there was a PTI report which also said that Vodafone Idea had dues worth nearly 54,000 crore rupees, while Bharti Airtel had dues worth nearly 62,000 crore rupees, and they have to pay these dues in the next 3 months. And that's the reason why we have seen such a sharp decline coming in for the telecom companies in trade today. And if you remember, Bharti Airtel and Vodafone Idea earnings are also coming out, so we'll have to also watch out for how much of it they are providing in this quarter, and what is their estimate, and how much AGR dues they have to pay to the government. So on the back of all these news, and also there was one separate news for Vodafone Idea, where the news report said that the company might file for insolvency if they do not receive any kind of support from the government. So on the back of all these news, we saw Vodafone Idea down nearly 23%, as much as 23%. It closed 20% down, while Bharti Airtel was down close to 5% in trade today.
Sure. Well, Soumit, thanks for getting those updates. So some pressure coming in for the telecommunications sector as well. And well, as we move into tomorrow is going to be the last day of earnings. There's going to be a lot of smiles across the newsroom. Of course, we're going to keep an eye on that one. But more importantly, perhaps, well, the weakening macros is now going to be in focus now that the result season will be behind us soon. We'll be watching out for that too. On that note, it's a wrap on the markets, but there's lots more lined up. Stay tuned to BloombergQuint.